Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is now facing a criminal investigation by the Justice Department as he's running for mayor of New York City. He's been accused by Republicans of lying to Congress about his handling of the COVID pandemic back when he was governor. In February, the DOJ forced the dismissal of a corruption indictment against the city's current mayor, Eric Adams, who's running against Cuomo. A spokesman for Cuomo pushing back, saying, quote, "We've never been informed of any such matter, so why would someone leak it now?" The answer is obvious. This is lawfare and election interference, plain and simple. Former U.S. Attorney Harry Litman joins us now live to get some perspective. The timing of all of this is notable given New York's Democratic mayoral primary just 5 weeks away, Harry.
Yeah, not just notable, but normally a violation of DOJ principles and practice. You don't try to interfere in an election so very much on the eve of it.
What would the charge necessarily be? Would it be lying under oath if he omitted certain details to Congress or mischaracterized the COVID response? What do you think?
Yeah, the charge would be perjury, Boris, based on a report from New York in 2020. He testified in 2020 that did undercount the COVID deaths that happened in nursing homes. It was a closed door meeting. We don't have the exact language, but it seems to be, as reported, something like, "I don't recall reviewing the report," when in fact subsequent emails showed that maybe he did. Now, this was referred in October of 2024 by James Comer, who was upset at the testimony, and the DOJ didn't do anything with it then. And people across the board, Republicans, Democrats, said there's really no solid perjury case here. Then it was revived, and it's now been given to Jeanine Pirro, who really shouldn't be within 10 miles of the case. She lost to Cuomo for Attorney General, and she called him a murderer, or said he should be investigated for murder based on this conduct on Fox News. Nevertheless, she now has the reins. One more important point, if I could. The whole reason, there's a public integrity section in DOJ. They're the ones who make the calls about whether you go against public officials. There's a very good reason for that. These kinds of prosecutions are necessarily roiled, polarized. So they make sure maybe there is a solid case here. They're the ones who make the call. They are precisely the section that this new administration has demolished in the Adams case itself, when 5 of them resigned and everyone else has been left, and they have bypassed them. So we don't have that normal assurance of regularity that the public integrity section would provide.
Understood. What would DOJ need to prove to bring charges?
Well, to bring them, you can always bring them, but to prove them in court, something like, and of course that would be after the election, and who knows what kind of political damage he'll have suffered by then. It's 5 weeks away, as you say, but basically that he intended to lie. It really matters what the exact statement is, but let's say it was, as reported, "I don't recall reviewing the report," that he knew he had and he intentionally lied about it. That's what they would have to prove. It is the kind of case, do not recall cases are very hard in perjury, but it is the kind of case that at the time, people across the board, including the Republican chief counsel of the committee, said, man, they can't, the DOJ is not going to do this. It's not a tenable perjury case.
So do you think he will be charged? And if so, I mean, couldn't his defense be that this is political?
Well, that'll be his defense in the public arena, Boris, but it's very hard to make that defense in a court of law. Normally the answer is go through the charges and then we'll see later if you can clean it up. Do I think he'll be charged? Look, all the pieces are in place to charge him the way the administration has been acting, and all of the pieces to actually make professional judgments are out of place, have been taken away. However, if the investigation itself, if this is really a political action, will do its damage before the primary on the 24th of June. If that's really what they're aiming for, who knows what they do after. But it is a case that I can say with confidence would not have been brought by previous DOJs. But based on what they've done, for instance, with Judge Dugan just yesterday, with Congresswoman McIver yesterday, I think they could well do it. Yeah.
Harry Litman, appreciate you sharing your expertise.
The Justice Department is launching an investigation into former New York governor and a current frontrunner for New York City Mayor Andrew Cuomo. This probe follows a referral from House Republicans who accuse Cuomo, who's in the midst of staging a political comeback, of lying over his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it also comes just weeks after the department ended a separate investigation into his top rival in the New York City mayoral race, current Mayor Eric Adams. Joining us now with more is CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams. So you have the New York City mayoral primary just over a month away. What do you make of the timing of this announcement?
The timing is suspect at best. Now, I want to be clear. If someone has engaged in wrongdoing, of course, the Justice Department ought to investigate them and get to the bottom of it. And frankly, that includes perjury. If a senior public official did lie about it, of course he should be investigated. Do we have any reason to believe that the administration, based on how they've acted thus far for these months that they've been in power, have not been seeking to target and investigate political enemies? And it just sort of keeps happening with an alarming degree of consistency that you just have to question the timing of the announcement.
And it is notable because the Attorney General Pam Bondi said repeatedly during her confirmation hearings that she will make sure that DOJ isn't weaponized. Yeah. And, you know, this investigation into Cuomo comes days after the FBI announced it's investigating New York Attorney General Letitia James over possible mortgage fraud. So, you know, you also had President Trump addressing the Justice Department back in March. I want to listen to what he said then.
There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred.
So I'll let our viewers decide how they want to view what steps the DOJ is taking and whether that's in alignment with what the president said. But you also have the Secret Service investigating FBI Director James Comey over a social media post. We've seen a Wisconsin judge arrested and a congresswoman, a Democratic congresswoman, charged. And the president's even calling for this major investigation into Bruce Springsteen, who has been critical of Trump. Do you think that any of these investigations will actually result in, you know, prosecutions, or do you see them as political statements?
I mean, both can be true. Certainly they're political statements. Again, as I said, if someone broke the law, of course they ought to be held accountable for it. But, you know, Pam, it's not the things you see. It's not the investigations they announce or even the speeches by the president, which I would note was a huge departure from Justice Department practice to even have a president show up at the Justice Department in the first place. It's not the things you see. It's the things you don't see. It's the terminations of career employees at the Justice Department. It's the sidelining of independent inspectors general across the administration. It's half of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division either being sidelined, terminated, or just quitting. Those are the things that are leading to the weaponization of the Justice Department, because the career employees that would be a check on the worst impulses of political appointees aren't there anymore. And look, and I say this as someone who was hired in the Bush administration, also served in the Obama administration. It happens all the time that career employees provide a valuable check on the political impulses of the political leadership at the Justice Department. That's gone. And you have folks now who are basically carrying out law enforcement with with vengeance. And that's really what you're seeing here. So I think far more toxic than any one of those cases you identified is sort of the bigger rot happening in the building.
Elliot Williams, thank you so much.